Should Mike in Virginia keep using his IRA money to pay the tax on his Roth conversions? How do you do a Roth conversion when you don't have the money to pay the tax? That's Peter LemonJello's question, but is it the question he should be asking? Joe and Big Al are spitballing Roth IRA conversion strategies to reduce your taxable required minimum distributions in retirement. That's today on Your Money, Your Wealth podcast number 484. Plus, Susan and Mike in Ohio are retired in the 24% tax bracket and considering converting $50,000 or $75,000 to Roth. Should they do it? How is D-Rock and Matilda's strategy for selling rental properties and doing Roth conversions as they bridge the gap to early retirement? And finally, how do required minimum distributions work on inherited Roth accounts? I'm producer Andy Last, and here are the hosts of Your Money, Your Wealth, Joe Anderson, CFP, and Big Al Clopine, CPA.
All right, we got Peter from LemonJello, Florida. There's such a place called LemonJello, Florida.
No, his name is Peter LemonJello from Florida.
Oh, geez. Oh. Peter LemonJello.
That's
from Florida.
That's what I would have got to. LemonJello, Florida.
Right. Okay. Hi, Andy, guys. Love the show. No pets. Listen to the show while driving my Defender. So, but we could spitball a Roth conversion strategy, but there's not enough money to pay the taxes. We'd love to do some conversions, but worry about defeating the purpose because I would have to withdraw extra funds to afford the taxes. All right. I have another question about removing Roth contributions prior to age 59 and a half. I've made many Roth contributions over the years to my Roth 401k. That plan will be terminated this year, and that account will be rolled into a Roth IRA. Since I did not make the contributions directly to the Roth IRA, does this impact the ability to remove contributions early 7 years from now? Thanks again, Peter. Peter LemonJello with the Defender.
From Florida.
Okay. He's asking the wrong questions here. I don't think he's got enough money to retire. And he's looking for some ways to figure some stuff out.
Well, yeah, you could be right, because when you start asking about taking money out of your Roth before age 59 and a half to avoid penalty, then it's like, okay, you're kind of shoestringing this together. Now, maybe he's got big fixed income, big pensions that come later, and maybe it's just a little bit of stub period. I mean, we don't have enough facts on this. I will say this to the first question, which is we don't generally recommend that you use IRA or 401k funds to pay the tax on your Roth conversion. That's you're paying tax on tax on tax, right?
It's just a never-ending cycle because you got to pay the tax,
right.
Pay the tax, to pay the tax.
Right. Now, we do depart from that general rule when someone has gigantic,
huge
IRAs, 401ks, where the required minimum distributions are going to put them in such a high bracket and they have no other assets available to pay the tax. That could be, and I will say the word could, that could be a situation where it might make some sense. But for general purposes, I wouldn't do it.
Right. If the RMDs are so big that it's going to push them into a lot higher tax bracket that they're in now, then yeah, it might make sense to pull to the top of whatever bracket. But you take part of that distribution, you convert and take part of it as a distribution to pay the taxes. But you're not getting the full effect because you got to pull the money out to pay the tax. And then that money that's left over after you pay the tax, guess what? Is paying tax on the conversion.
Yeah, and you pull out enough to pay the tax. You do the tax return next year. Whoop, I need another 20,000. You pull that out next year. Oh, I got to pay tax on the 20 that you pull out. Yeah, it can be kind of a never-ending cycle. Joe, the second question appears to be about, I want to retire before 59 and a half. How can I possibly pull money out of this without penalties? So the answer is you can pull out your Roth contributions, whether it's 401k or IRA, it doesn't really matter. If it's 401k, it just transfers to the IRA. But it's not a great strategy.
It's terrible
because you
want the compounding effect of tax-free.
You got the money in the Roth and you're not even 59 and a half and you're probably going to live into your 80s or longer. It's like, do you really want to pull this out right now? You're not even 60. I wouldn't.
Yeah. I don't know. The tracing and tracking rules are very difficult for anyone to follow, let alone the IRS too. As long as you had the Roth IRA for over 5 years and you can basically have some sort of trail of how many contributions that went into the overall accounts, I think you're going to be okay. But I I don't like the strategy. We need so much more information. How much money do you have?
Right.
Is this a big chunk of money? Then we might change our tune here. But it sounds like you're kind of piecemealing or just trying to Frankenstein your retirement strategy here.
As my dad would say, smoke and mirrors.
Oh wow, Peter Jello.
Well, my dad would say that to me when I bought real estate, and I didn't have a lot of money.
Called you big hat, no
Smoke
cap.
and mirrors.
Yeah. He would just say, "You're buying this with smoke and mirrors." I said, "Yeah, but it's working."
Yeah,
Until it didn't.
yeah. Then it crumbled like a house of cards.
Yeah, right.
All right. Good luck, Peter. We got Mike from Virginia. Follow up to last week's spitball.
And this was in March, so last couple of months ago, spitball.
Got it.
Okay.
Dear Annie Joe, Al, thank you for reading my question last week. I love the show, and even more when my question is on it. First, the crappy limerick. There once was a man from Nantucket who used a strategy called bucket. He split up his money, then with his honey, and went to Belize and said, the heck with it. All right. My question was on whether to keep doing Roth conversions and pay the tax out of the IRA rather than my brokerage account in order to save taxes for my widow.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's see. I've been converting to the IRMA bracket or 24% tax bracket, whichever is lower. Presently, the IRMA. Last year converted $264,000 to stay under the IRMA bracket when counting Social Security dividends in capital gains. We are 70. Social Security, 70,000 will decrease to 50 at death of one of us, 650,000 in brokerage, $2.5 million in IRAs, and 1.5 in Roths. Wow, good for you.
Yeah, excellent. Yep.
Killing. Spending $132,000 annually before taxes. Because of the conversion, taxes were about 84 grand. We may spend more on travel in the next few years. Just spent 20,000 on the house, updating with 7,000 underway and another 100 to 160,000 over the next year. Kitchen, bathrooms. Yep, know that drill. I told you my house is killing me and why I'm worried about taking tax money out of my brokerage for where 250,000 is in stocks and mutual funds. RMDs in 2 years will be about $100,000, rising to 150, 160 when I'm 85. Tax bracket on spending in early RMDs is 22, finally jointly 24 or more, depending on Congress at age 85 for my widow at 85, 32% or more. What do you think? Thank you, Mike. All right, so what Mike's doing, he's forecasting out over the next 15 years. And he's given his retirement accounts, and he's got a giant amount in retirement accounts. So first of all, congratulations, Mike.
Yeah.
Done a heck of a job saving. And he's started to convert over the years to the IRMA limit.
Right.
So IRMA, income requirement.
Income-related monthly adjustment amount.
Monthly adjusted amount. Income
that's what you
related.
Monthly adjustment amount.
Got it. That's Medicare premium.
Yeah. So what that is, a certain income level, modified adjusted gross income level that you make in 2 years from now will determine how much you have to pay in Medicare premiums.
So he's probably going to the top tier at 240.
Well, no, so this is the current year
I don't know.
for
I'm just making stuff up. Al.
yeah. So that for 2022 modified adjusted gross income for the 2024 year. Okay, so and this is married. 206,000 or less is the lowest bracket. 258,000 is the next bracket. 322. The highest bracket actually starts at 750 grand.
Oh.
Anyway,
what bracket you're in?
Well, I'm not on Medicare, so I'll let you know when I get there.
Got it.
Anyway, yeah. Let's just do that question first, right off the bat, which is a lot of people they'll do a conversion to stay out of the higher IRMA bracket because they want to pay less in Medicare.
Yep.
And I get it, but when you look at the differences here from one bracket to the next, it's like $100. So $100 times 12, 1,200, right? If you converted 200,000, right? That's like a 0.5% tax. It's like, who cares? So just consider it that way, right? Look at that extra you got to pay, and does it still make sense tax bracket?
Because he's got $2.5 million in retirement accounts. And so you forecast that out. He's spending some money. He's updating the house. The house is killing him because of the bedroom, the bathroom, the kitchen. Got to remodel. You got to do all of this stuff. And then you forecast out to age 85. What is the account going to look like? Let's say he passes away. The wife is still living. Now she files as a single filer. What is that going to look like in regards to tax? Because maybe we want to preserve a lot of this to the next generation.
Yeah. So I wouldn't. So going back to this original question, does he pay the tax out of the IRA rather than the brokerage? I would say no, but I would think about it this way, which is, if you need 150,000, just take it out of your IRA, and you don't do a Roth conversion that year, right? And so the other years you do a Roth conversion and you pay the tax out of your brokerage. That's what I would do.
Well, I would disagree with that, because he needs to continue to convert each year.
I don't think so. I mean,
$2.5 million in retirement accounts. He dies. What bracket's his wife going to be in?
Let me say that differently. He doesn't have to do it every year. If he's going to take 150,000 out for a kitchen project, do you want to convert that year?
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're taking 150,000 as a distribution out of the retirement account.
Yeah. So let's say you convert 150,000 or 200,000, whatever the number is.
Sure.
So the year that you pull a bunch of money out for the kitchen remodel, you don't do a conversion that year. You just pull it out of the IRA, but same.
No,
right?
I understand.
The other years, absolutely, you go ahead and do the conversions. What level?
But my point is that I think in this case it might be okay to pay the taxes out of the retirement account if he stays in that 24% tax bracket.
Yeah.
The top of the 24% tax bracket is what?
It's for married couple. It's
3 something.
Yeah, 380. Call it 400,000.
400 grand in the 22 or 24.
24.
24% tax bracket. It's a giant bracket.
Yeah.
So you look at, all right, well, maybe he converts 150,000 and he owes $80,000 in tax.
Right.
Well, he's going to pay more tax to get the money out to pay the tax.
Yeah.
I would have to run the math. I think it might make sense if he stays in the 24, because the 24 is going to the 28, or he could go to the 25. I think the arbitrage is still there from a tax bracket perspective.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with you on that part, because especially for the next 2 years, because we know we've got the 22 and 24% for 2024 and 2025. We don't know about 2026. In fact, it's scheduled to go away, right? And these brackets that Mike's going to be in are going to be 25, 28, or even subject to alternative minimum tax, which could be like a 35% effective rate. So I would be maxing out for the next 2 years the 24% bracket. And if you need to get 150,000 for the kitchen remodel, and you would have normally done a $300,000 Roth conversion.
150.
Right, I'm just making up numbers, but yeah, it's some for the kitchen and the rest for the Roth.
All right. And then the widow tax on top of that blows them up.
I know. And then for the next 2 years, I wouldn't worry about IRMA.
Yeah.
After that, you can dial that in better if you want.
Comments are now open on our YouTube channel, so join the conversation and tell us what you think of today's episode. I'm in there daily responding to you and taking notes to pass along to Joe and Big Al, because you know they aren't paying attention after the microphones are off. If you missed it, last Friday was the first YMYW Extra. These are bonus podcast episodes where I enlist the help of the experienced professionals on Joe and Big Al's team here at Pure Financial Advisors to answer even more of your spitball requests. In the first one, David Cook, CFP, from Pure's San Diego office, did a full retirement spitball analysis for Sunshine in Orange County, covering asset allocation and asset location, assumptions for inflation and returns, Roth conversion plans, and so much more. Sadie in Seattle's CPA made her feel like an idiot for converting her 403B to Roth, but was it really a bad idea? This Friday, Tony Vu, CFP, will join me on YMYW Extra from Pure Financial's Brea office to spitball for Sadie. Look for the bonus episode in the Your Money, Your Wealth feed wherever you get your podcasts, and find the video of our conversation on our YouTube channel this Friday.
All right, we got Susan from Ohio. My husband and I are retired civil servants and have been retired for 20 years and 15 years, respectively. We have pension, which cover all of our needs and wants. My husband has begun to take his RMDs on his TSP and IRAs and has donated the money since we don't need it. I prefer not to pay the taxes. I will start taking my RMDs in 2 years. Now, it's $175,000 in a TSP and $150,000 in an IRA. 90K in a Roth, 130 in a brokerage account, 30,000 in I bonds, 20,000 in precious metals.
Physical precious metals.
Yeah, she's kind of a little safe in the basement.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
I'm considering doing a $50,000 or $75,000 Roth conversion, both this year and next. We're in the 24% tax bracket. Is this a good idea or a bad idea? We both have longevity in our families, and we'd like to celebrate. Oh, and we will be celebrating Mike's mother's 100th birthday this year.
That's great.
Our home is paid for. We pay cash for cars. Hubby drives a 2015 Honda Accord EXL, and I drive a Honda Civic EXL. Mike drinks Bell's Two-Hearted Ale. Bell's Two-Hearted Ale. Anyone?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
It's an ale.
Sure. And I drank a Great Lakes Commodore Perry IPA.
Yeah, okay.
When I could find it. Where the hell do you find any of this stuff? In occasional Manhattan. All right.
I guess it's in Ohio.
Okay. Well, I've seen that before.
You have?
Yes.
So you get around, don't you?
No. I don't know where I've seen that, but I know I've seen that before. A little Two-Hearted. Yeah,
Got a fish on it.
Yeah, it's right next to the Coors Light, my local.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, my local liquor store. No,
Got
I'm
it.
kidding.
Well, probably that'd be something you'd see in Minnesota. It seems like.
It seems like it. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we got the Great Lakes Commodore Perry IPA, where I can find it in occasional Manhattan. We also have a black and white Hita.
Pain
Hita
in the
canine?
yeah.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Canine named Scout.
Got it.
I've been listening to your podcast for a year now. Would appreciate your thoughts.
Okay. So let's see. Question.
A year. That's a long time.
It is. It's a very long time.
All right. I don't know. I totally lost track of it. Should she do a conversion of $50,000 to $75,000?
That was the question.
Right. They got pensions.
They're in the
24% tax bracket.
They got longevity.
Let's see. 150 to 300. 3 times 4 is 24. The RMD is roughly going to be 25,000 for her.
Yeah.
So should she do a conversion of 50 or 75? I would look at what tax bracket that you're going to be in the conversion, and then I would do the same, or what tax bracket you're going to be on your RMD
With the RMD.
and then I would do the conversion and stay in that tax bracket.
Yeah, and she says they're in the 24% bracket, and the fact is the 24% bracket will be 28% bracket in 2026, and you may be even subject to alternative minimum tax, which would make it even higher. So I would say yes. Now we don't have any other figures, so I'm assuming you've got the money to pay the tax, and the fact that you're in the 24% bracket means there's a lot of income here, either from other RMDs from your husband or
The
pensions, or
right, yeah,
or both. Yeah, or both. Oh yeah, we have pensions that cover our needs and wants. So yeah, I would say if you can stay in the 24% bracket, sure, why not?
Yeah,
as long as you can afford to pay the tax.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Thanks for the question, Susan. We got yo, this is D-Rock. Oh boy. I wonder where this one's going.
We'll see.
Yo, D-Rock, what up? And my spouse, Matilda, from New York. I bet Matilda's a very sweet, nice woman. And D-Rock is just like wearing a tank top right now with some cheesy ass tattoos on his upper shoulders. That's my envision.
That's what you got so far.
But,
okay, let's read on and see if we still think that.
All right, let's see, D-Rock. Yeah. Love your show and your personalities. We drive nothing specials. All right. I'm partial to a little frosty IPA, Matilda Martini with stuffed olives. By the way, doesn't Big Al sound almost exactly like Chris Collinsworth? Yeah, I know Chris Collins, a Florida Gator.
Yeah, he's a
NFL sports announcer.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Wow, I would take that any day.
I hope I even look like him.
Has anyone actually seen Chris Collinsworth and Big Al in the same place at the same time?
I don't think anyone has because it hasn't happened. but maybe we're the same person.
All righty. We would like your spitball regarding one, selling the rental property, and two, doing Roth conversions during the bridge years between early retirement and drawing on our retirement savings, Social Security, and our small pension. Our situation 50 and 50. Children, both children expected to be off to college in 4 years. College savings, fully funded 529 plans with values not included in the figures below. All right. Work retired situation. Both W-2 employees combined income is $400,000. We plan to retire at 4 years of the summer 2028 when kids off to college.
They're just counting the days.
No, he's like, man, you've said kids off to college like 6 times. He wakes up every morning. Hey, the kids off to college yet? No.
Can you imagine D-Rock? He's got the little calendar with the red X every day.
Hey, Dad, what does that mean?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, God. Fixed income projections. All right. He's got a pension of $16,000 a year. He's got no COLA on that starting at age 60 for D-Rock. Social Security of $45,000 for each spouse, totaling $90,000 together at age 62. We will delay if possible, but have assumed age 62 in case we need it. This yields a total of $106,000 fixed income at age 62. Investments where we closely manage our portfolio expenses, have realistic rate of return expectations. This is our balance projection in
So future dollars.
Oh God, here we go.
Yeah,
so
I'll save
we
you.
Closely manage, Alan.
I'll save you the trouble. It's $4.5 million of future dollars.
$4.5 million.
Yep.
All right. Congratulations, D-Rock. Expenses, $165,000. Here's the question. Number one, rental property. We would like to sell the rental property in 2028 and help simplify the headaches and allow unencumbered travel.
Yep. Unencumbered.
Unencumbered?
Yep. Travel.
All right. See. We estimate we'll pay 20% of $1 million rental property sale in fees, gains, and depreciation recapture taxes. Right?
Okay.
Adding the $800,000 net proceeds to the $1.2 million brokerage will give us $2 million in the bridge fund. This will likely be spread 50% of money market and the other 50% in stock bond mutual fund portfolio. From a tax perspective, is there any reason we should wait until the full year after retirement in 2029, given our income will effectively be zero? Wait for what?
Well, so I guess it's a choice. Do you sell the final year that you work, or the following year, if you can spread it into a different.
We wait till the following year, January, and sell when his income is zero.
Yeah, right.
All right. We don't believe the sale of the rental property relates directly to tax brackets, so don't believe it should matter if we sell when retiring in mid-2028 or afterwards in 2029.
Well, here's another forward thinking. It could matter because your depreciation recapture is the lower of 25% or your tax rate. If your tax rate is
15
or 12 or whatever it is at that point, that could be cheaper. Capital gain rates go from 0 to 15% to 20% plus the net investment income tax rate. So I think he said you're
200,000. He's thinking.
Yeah, if you make 400,000, then you're gonna have to pay an extra 3.8% capital tax on capital gains. So yeah, I think if you have the opportunity between 2028 and 2029, then push it another month.
Yeah, what are you doing in 5 years?
Well,
the date
I'm going to sell in December, either 22nd or January 7th.
Yes. All right. So from ages 54 to 60, we'll have zero earned income living up that bridge fund. And we'll only have the small pension starting at age 60 and then perhaps collecting Social Security at age 62 if needed. Isn't this 68 years the ideal time to do Roth conversions? We know tax rates or brackets will change, but for simplicity's sake, using today's tax brackets, wouldn't we be able to convert $94,000 plus the standard deduction at 29 for a total of 123 and still be in the 12% tax bracket? Does dividend earnings from the money market or realized capital gains from the sale of the mutual funds affect Roth conversions tax bracket? Thanks. Keep up the good work. All right, D-Rock. Good questions here. Like the planning opportunities that you're looking at yourself. But yes, all income is going to affect your Roth conversion.
Sure. Yeah, because your Roth conversion is added to the other income that you have to figure out what tax bracket you're in.
So when you look at this stump period, or what's he calling it, his bridge period,
Yeah.
he's going to have a few $1,000,000. He's going to have half of it in money market. He's going to have half of it in some stock bond portfolio.
Yeah.
You just want to be very tax efficient with the money that you have. So you want to try to keep out the interest and dividends and all of that stuff out the tax return. You want to start thinking about creating income from like selling shares versus getting a large coupon.
Right.
Who knows where interest rates are going to be, but sometimes people start collecting investments and they don't understand the taxation of those investments, and their after-tax rate of return by picking some investments are going to be a lot lower if they just use maybe a different strategy that was not looking at maybe a yield or a dividend yield, or maybe just a yield on a fixed income instrument or a CD or something like that.
Yeah. And then I guess if you look at whether you need Social Security or not, I don't know. I mean, you got 4.5 million, or you will have 4.5 million is what's expected in 2028. Maybe that's enough to fund this thing until you hit Social Security. Maybe one of you collects early just to have a little bit more cushion. I mean, you have a lot to work with, I guess.
Yeah, but that stump period is when you want to do the conversions, and you could
sure.
do a fairly large conversion and still be in the lowest tax bracket.
Yeah, and plus, if you look at the brokerage account of 1.2 million, pre-tax at 3.1 million, so there's money to pay the taxes. That 3.1 million at age 50, can you imagine what that would be at age 75, RMD ages, depending upon how much of it you use?
How old's D-Rock?
50.
And he's got $3 million in retirement accounts?
Yeah.
What is up with this?
I don't know. It's
what
amazing. Do you have, I don't.
At 50? $3 million in a retirement account?
Yeah, I don't know how that happens, but
you just jamming, or you get
company stock,
company
and it's
stock,
the right company.
Right.
Yeah.
You got.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Anyway.
Well, I take back. I'll call you D-Rock all day, D-Rock. $3 million in a retirement account at 50.
Anyway, so to
retirement accounts are not that old, Al.
I know. Exactly.
And you can't put like $200,000 in a retirement account.
No, you can't.
For years, it was a few $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, when I started my career, it was $2,000 you could put into an IRA.
Yeah, right. 401ks came out in, I suppose it's been 50 years, maybe.
Yeah, they were around. I just didn't happen to work for a company that had one.
Sure. But all right. Yeah, I think D-Rock's doing just fine.
Yeah, me too. I think Roth conversions during that sub period, absolutely. And I think selling the property, yeah, if you can, all things equal, if you can do that in a year with less income, the taxes will be even less.
All right.
You can see for yourself whether Big Al looks like Chris Collinsworth on Your Money, Your Wealth TV. D-Rock and Matilda and a lot of other couples have laid out their retirement plans. But what happens when you're single? Watch Going Solo, Navigating Your Financial Future Single this week on YMYW TV. Learn how to map out your retirement journey, create a budget, and manage debt. Joe and Big Al have specific tips and strategies for singles in every generation around emergency savings, Social Security, saving for retirement, including catch-up contributions, and managing your investment portfolio during market downturns. Check it out and download the companion guide. You'll find the links to both in the description of today's episode wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're not single, why not share this episode and the guide with someone who is?
We got, hey, Joe, Big Al, still enjoying the show. Yeah.
Still.
See, usually what happens is that after about, I don't know, a handful of episodes,
they're not still enjoying it anymore.
Oh my God, it's the same stuff over and over and over.
It's like enough already.
It's so bad. I appreciate you're still enjoying it. Thank you for the great content. Would you dig in a little deeper into the RMDs? Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait to dig deeper into the RMDs.
Yeah, it's one of your favorite topics.
Will come into play for heirs on Roth accounts. I've heard they may need to take an RMD on Roths unless the person that passed away finished taking RMDs from traditional accounts before they converted to Roth. Since you are the Roth experts, I'd love to hear your explanation of these rules. Okay. So required minimum distribution is what she's referring to.
Yeah, and there's different rules for
different accounts.
IRAs versus 401ks versus Roth IRAs versus Roth 401ks versus inherited IRAs and inherited Roth. So I guess she wants us to dive into the rules on heirs. In other words, you inherit a Roth IRA account. So the original account holder never had to take an RMD. At least that's how the rule is currently. Okay. But when you pass away, your spouse doesn't have to take RMDs. But if it goes to anyone other than your spouse, like kids or grandkids or nieces, nephews, or friends, whatever, that's an inherited Roth IRA. And you do have to take required minimum distributions there. There's different rules on when you start those, but all Roth IRA accounts need to be fully distributed RMDs within 10 years of when the person passes away.
All retirement accounts now. So the stretch IRA used to go on life expectancy, depending on how old they were when they inherited the account. Then the tax was distributed over their life. But a few years ago, they changed the rules there and saying, hey, there's a lot of money sitting in retirement accounts. So we need to flush this money out. If it's a Roth IRA, they still want to flush the money out and recycle it so they can tax it at some point. If it just sits in a Roth IRA forever, it's just going to compound tax deferred, and then it's going to continue to come out tax free.
Right.
So always on inherited account. So if you inherit account, a non-spousal beneficiary, you had to recycle the money. You had to take a required distribution. So that's why RMDs exist.
Yeah.
Right. So some people, why do I have to take the money out? Because they want you've appreciated the tax deferment of that money for years. Now it's time the IRS to get their tax money from it. So the deduction you all receive from a 401k plan or a retirement account of any kind, it is not a true deduction, in my opinion. It's a loan that you have to pay back because the money comes out of the account regardless and taxes are due.
Yeah, it's a timing difference. In other words, you get a tax deduction when you put the money in, but when you take the money out, you have to pay the tax at that point. So in this particular case, the person that made the contribution got a tax deduction, and the person that withdraws it, the heir, has to pay taxes on that. Now, Roth IRA is a little different. So the person that put the money in, there's no tax deduction and it grows tax-free, but the person that receives it on inheritance, as long as they're not a spouse, a non-spousal beneficiary, now you do have to take RMDs, required minimum distributions, out of a Roth IRA. Good news is it's not taxable, but you do have to take the money out. Money has to be fully distributed within 10 years.
All right. Hopefully that answers your question. But I guess the point that I was trying to make too is that why do we like Roth IRA so much? It's because a retirement account, you don't really get the tax deduction. You get partial deduction depending on what tax bracket that you're in, and maybe you get the time value of money, but there's always going to be tax due.
Yeah, true. There's no way around it.
There's no way around the tax on the other side of it. You might not have to pay it, but your heirs are going to pay it, or your spouse is going to pay it.
Right.
So, I thought you'd be a little bit more excited. No.
I think we already exhausted that one.
That's it for us today. I appreciate you hanging out. We'll see you again next week. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth.
The Defender, How Limericks Work, the tall tales that golfers tell, and PETA in the derails at the end of the episode, so stick around. This is Your Money, Your Wealth, Your podcast. If you enjoy YMYW, tell your friends and help us reach even more listeners like you. And don't forget to leave your honest reviews and ratings for Your Money, Your Wealth in Apple Podcasts and all the other apps that let you do that, like Amazon, Audible, Castbox, Good Pods, Pandora, Player FM, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Podknife, and Spotify. We're on all of them. Your Money, Your Wealth is presented by Pure Financial Advisors. To really learn how to make the most of your money and your wealth in retirement, you need more than a spitball. Schedule a no-cost, no-obligation, comprehensive financial assessment with the experienced professionals on Joe and Big Al's team at Pure. Click the link in the podcast show notes to schedule yours, or call 888-994-6257. Meet in person at any of our locations around the country or online right from your couch. No matter where you are, the Pure team will work with you to create a detailed plan that's tailored to meet your needs and goals in retirement. Pure Financial Advisors is a registered investment advisor. This show does not intend to provide personalized investment advice through this podcast and does not represent that the securities or services discussed are suitable for any investor. As rules and regulations change, podcast content may become outdated. Investors are advised not to rely on any information contained in the podcast in the process of making a full and informed investment decision.
Hell's a Defender.
I don't know. It sounds bad.
Sounds aggressive. Sounds really aggressive.
It's a Land Rover. It's an SUV.
Oh, okay.
But wouldn't you say like a GMC Defender? Or you just
have to know.
Just say
It's a
Defender.
Defender. Of course, everyone knows that, except for us.
Okay. Was hoping you could spitball Roth conversions for me.
Yeah, there it is.
That's a Land Rover.
That's what it said. Land Rover Defender.
Yeah.
I suppose if you have a Land Rover, you just call it a Defender.
Because yeah, you already know it.
Yeah, you're pretty cool. Got it. There once was a man from Nantucket who used a strategy called bucket. He split up his money, then with his honey, and went to Belize and said the heck with it. All right.
I think that there's too many syllables in the last one.
That's intentional.
Got it.
So that it doesn't rhyme with the word bucket.
Yeah, I'm still trying
you
to put this together.
F it.
Exactly.
And went to Belize and said F it.
Mhm.
Said the heck of it.
Got it.
You following?
I'm
You want me
with
to
you.
write it out for you?
Yeah. Can you chart that out now?
Spell it out. Okay.
Got it.
I read that Andy plays music to small crowds. I'm in a music class. Our bluegrass band played a recital in a brewery to more than 10 people, but fewer than 10 were listening.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good color.
Where are we going with this? Al, I think Hawaii is great, but it is a long way from the East Coast. I would like to fly fish out the coast of Belize. Do you do any fishing?
My fishing experience is going to the grocery store and picking out a fish to barbecue.
It's pretty limited, huh?
Pretty limited. Yep.
Sounds like Joe's a good golfer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Quite good.
Just quite good.
Yeah. The best.
I'm pretty good at driving the cart and drinking beer. I go on annual golf trips with buddies where I get to say I can play better than this, but never have. All right, yeah.
I think I've used that line.
Yes,
before.
I've played with a lot of people. Oh, I can't believe this is the worst I've ever played.
Yeah. Right.
Unbelievable.
And next week.
I've never hit it this bad in my entire life. Wow, I usually do not slice the ball. This is crazy.
Except the last 25 shots.
Oh my God. That happened to me just recently.
Did it? Where you were slicing?
No, it was one of some individuals that we're close with in our business.
Oh, yes. And you were trying to play your normal game and
Well, no, it
just
was like,
wasn't-
oh my God, I've
wasn't
never
happening.
played this bad. I was like, you haven't even got it out the box.
oh, that's what they were saying.
Yes.
Got it. I thought
Do
that
you
was,
ever have those days, Joe?
No.
No.
No. If I play like a dog, it's like, I'm not going to make excuses.
Yeah,
it's
just
like,
whatever.
It is what it is.
having a bad day.
Hey.
Still having fun.
Because you know why people say that? Because the precursor of playing, they might say, I would say 95% of people lie about how good they are on the golf course.
Yeah, that is true.
Right? They might say, oh, yeah, I'm a 7 handicap.
Right.
And it's like, there's no way you're a 27 handicap.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think it's interesting when you play with people you've never really played with. It's like before the first hole. Well, I've got a sore finger. You know, my back's been a little bit sore.
Yeah, the excuses start coming out.
So I heard that, and I just said, well, I got vertigo.
I'm a little buzzed. So, excuse me. Ida?
Pain in
Ida,
the
pain in the ass?
Yeah.
Canine named Scout. Is that what that means?
yes.
I would have never known that.
I was like,
It's just
Ida? Is
Pita.
Pita bread?
Pita bread?
Oh, pain in the old behind.